Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. My name is Natalie Slyman. I'm the content marketing manager at Benchmark Email. And, given the time of year, we thought it would be really beneficial to discuss what worked in email marketing this past year and what to try next year. Before we dive in, I just want to let everyone know if you have questions, please share them in the questions section of the toolbar. I will reserve some time at the end of the webinar to get to those questions. And if you have to log off a bit early, no worries. After the recording, I will email everyone the slides, which will include like a check sheet for you to kind of use for next year. And then I will also send out the recording so that you can kind of get everything just in case you miss anything. Okay, so before we get into kind of the agenda of today, I want to kind of pause and discuss something that I don't think made a lot of headlines, but it's definitely worth mentioning. And it's that email, kind of quietly had one of its strongest years in 2025. While the rest of, the marketing world was sort of buzzing about new social platforms, shifting algorithms, because that happens every day, it seems like, and AI everything, including, nonstop privacy updates. I mean, there was a lot going on. Kind of during all that noise, email just sort of kept doing what it does best, and that's just delivering consistent results without demanding a huge budget or a huge team behind it. That's one of the things that kind of just makes email makes email so great. And what's even more encouraging is that, this wasn't just stability, it was steady improvement. So marketers who leaned into the fundamentals saw some of their best performance in years. And, when brands focused on clarity in their messaging, also using smarter segmentation instead of just blasting everybody on their list with the same message, and, kind of kept with a consistent sending rhythm, engagement can it either held strong or it actually improved. So it's just a good reminder that even as the landscape gets louder and more chaotic, email is going to remain one of the most reliable channels to have. And importantly, it's still one of the very few channels where you control the relationship with your audience. I mean, think about it. What's so beneficial about email is that you have that direct line to people that want to hear from you. So you have a lot of control. There's nothing there's no changing algorithm or anything kind of like that you're sort of at the mercy of. And there's no, play to pay or pay to play wall keeping you from reaching your customers. So it's really, really reliable. And when we talk about planning for next year, we're not sort of reinventing anything. So that's kind of reassuring as well. We're really just building on the foundation that already works. So it's just about kind of finding ways to make it even easier, faster, and more efficient for you and your team. Because if anything's going to change or if anything is going to be a little bit unreliable, it's us. It's the amount of people we have on our team, our the time we have in our day to get things done. So that's why email also is just kind of our best friend. It really can work with us. One of the biggest shifts, though, that we did see wasn't about design or content. It was about the rules behind the scenes. So privacy updates and deliverability standards tightened across the board, and inbox providers took a much more cautious approach to what they allowed in the inbox. So that is something that, kind of can hold us back if we aren't prepared for it. So we do kind of want to chat about that a little bit. We saw stricter filtering, more aggressive spam defenses, and a much stronger emphasis on domain authentication. So like in other words, inbox providers wanted to make absolutely sure that the sender was legitimate and that the audience actually wanted the email, which when you think about it, really only works in our favor as marketers. For those that were already maintaining clean lists and authenticating their domains and sending to, engaged segments, this was great news, like I just said. Their messages reached the inbox more consistently, and many even saw improvements in open rates simply because inbox providers rewarded good, sending behavior. So, but, for those that didn't, prioritize hygiene or authentication, it's it made it harder for them to break through. Emails were more likely to land in promotion tabs or spam filters, and that can happen even when the content is really solid. So we have a simple takeaway here, and that's that the bar has been raised. Healthy lists and authenticated domains are no longer best practices. They are core requirements. So, the marketers who leaned into these fundamentals saw the strongest inbox placement. So as we head into next year, this trend is not going to go anywhere. In fact, it's probably going to become one of the key areas where marketers can gain a real advantage, as long as they're just doing things consistently and doing them well. So we want to help kind of empower you and make sure you are prepared for that kind of thing. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. But I want to chat about one other major shift. And this came from the audience side. People are actually reading emails. And the short version is they're reading less and scanning more. It's how people are actually reading emails. And the way that they are reading the emails is that they're not really kind of like diving into it word by word. They're scanning because, again, time. Attention spans shrink and skim reading became kind of like the default behavior. Most subscribers now make a split-second decision. Is this worth my time kind of thing? And they make that decision within the first few lines of the email. So that's why it's, it's really important to kind of get your point across very early. We also saw some people become pickier about the messages they open in the first place. So with so many brands hitting the same inbox, subscribers have far less patience for anything that feels long, cluttered, or irrelevant. It's called inbox fatigue. And I'm sure since all of us are also consumers, we probably experienced a little bit of that ourselves. But the encouraging part is that, marketers who adjust to this new reality, they don't just survive, they see stronger engagement. So shorter copy can outperform long paragraphs, emails with a single clear call to action outperform scattered layouts, and targeted segmented content consistently beat one size fits all blasts, which I feel like I kind of reiterate in every single webinar that we have. What this tells us is that inbox behavior didn't make email harder. It just made the expectations much more clear. So, if you respect your reader's time, if you want to, the way that you do that is that you show value right away. And if you talk to the right segment with the right message, people will respond. So something to kind of keep into next year is start designing your emails for how people actually respond. And how they actually read, not how we want them to. You kind of have to follow their example or follow their lead. It's going to be one of the simplest ways that you can boost engagement, without adding any extra work. Okay, so I want to walk into now the agenda of today. So this is sort of what you'll walk away with. We're going to dive in deeper to what actually worked this past year. We're going to discuss what you should stop doing. And, we're going to talk about some simple, realistic ideas that you can put into your January campaigns. Okay. When we look back at 2025, the emails that performed best weren't the flashiest and the most complex. They were the ones that respected their readers' time and delivered value quickly. The winning formats all had one thing in common: simplicity that worked. So I want to break down the 4 standouts here. Short, scannable newsletters. So these became a quiet powerhouse. Long form newsletters still have their place, but the majority of audiences gravitated towards that shorter, cleaner format that, again, was easier to skim. So think tight sections, clear headings, and one strong takeaway. When marketers trimmed the fluff and kept that structure simple, they saw more clicks, higher scroll depth, and better overall engagement. It turns out people do want updates. They just want them delivered in a format they can digest in under a minute. So think simple, simple, simple. You don't want to bog down your newsletters, because doing that overwhelms your reader, and then they don't know what to do, and they will exit out and go about their day. Another point is clean promotional sends with fewer CTAs. So, this is exactly how it sounds, just simplifying your promotional emails, because promotional emails are important. I mean, they're obviously there to promote a product or a service. And when you think of what you want people to do with these emails, is you want them to, either purchase something or sign up for something. So it's important to make it clean and not cluttered and very straightforward with fewer CTAs. I mean, I only recommend about one CTA an email, two maximum, but I would really try and stick with one, because you just want to make it easy for them to make that action that you want them to make. And then there's welcome sequences. So these are still top performers. Welcome emails are very popular. It's just, they continue to outperform almost every other format, because, think about it. When a subscriber first signs up to your newsletters or to your offering, that's when they're the most engaged. They're excited about what they've found. They are interested. They want to know more about you. So a welcome email, which is something that you send them as soon as they sign up, that's going to get the most engagement, because you're catching them at the beginning of their relationship with you. That's when they are super, super excited to get to know more about you. So we definitely recommend continuing to use those if you already are, or starting to introduce those into your campaigns. Again, they don't need to be elaborate, just a warm introduction, maybe even a value statement and a helpful next step. That's more than enough. Okay. Update and announce emails with clear value. Excuse me. Finally, we saw some strong performance from what I like to call the just tell me something useful category. Updates, announcements, new services, upcoming events. These emails all kind of fall within that category. They did well when they're, very upfront and clear. This is like direct, think direct subject lines, straightforward layouts, and one core message. That's what makes these highly effective. Okay, so let's talk about subject line trends and open rate benchmarks. I feel like subject lines are a very popular category to dive into, because they're short and sweet. They're short and sweet, but they can have a lot to do with your email performance. So for years, marketers kind of leaned on clever wordplay or long descriptive subjects, but this past year, subscribers overwhelmingly gravitated towards messages that were, again, clear, concise, and easy to understand at a glance. Go figure. In almost every database we analyzed, straightforward subject lines outperformed clever ones. And the sweet spot, 3 to 5 words. So just enough context to make the value obvious, but not enough to overwhelm the reader. Subject lines like your weekly update, a quick reminder, or something new for you, those kind of like consistently lifted open rates compared to like longer, more complex ones. I mean, think about it. If you have a long subject line, it might not even make the full window. So if people can't read the full subject line, it kind of loses its appeal anyway. But also personalization was a very big driver this past year as well. Adding even lightweight personalization, so like a first name or a reference to a past behavior, that can have a meaningful impact. In many cases, personalizing the subject line increased open rates up to 50%, which is huge. But this doesn't mean, every email needs to feel overly tailored or intimate. What worked best was simple, respectful touches that, signaled relevance and no gimmicks, like name, your update is here, a reminder for you, your latest summary. Those are quick, easy, simple, respectful, personalization touches. And when I say gimmicks, I mean, it's just people are smart. They know when you're like trying to sell them something. So it's really not going to benefit you to be gimmicky. But together, all of these trends sort of tell a clear story. Subscribers open emails when they immediately understand the value, and when they feel like the message is meant for them. So complexity doesn't win here. Cleverness doesn't always win either. Clarity does. So think of your subject line this coming year as the like billboard on the highway. You've got about half a second to make the message land. So the simpler it is, the better it will perform. Okay. What truly moved the needle in 2025? Personalization and segmentation. Shocker, were absolute standouts. And this wasn't just a trend. It showed up clearly in both marketer segment and measurable performance. So I want to point out this stat here. 78% of marketers said that subscriber segmentation is the most effective email marketing strategy. That's almost all the marketers out there. So, I mean, that's a pretty big number. So not complicated automation, not elaborate funnels, segmentation. So simply sending different messages to different groups based on what they care about. But the real proof comes from organizations that put segmentation into practice. One of the most compelling examples is from the Fish Center. It's a nonprofit, and they applied behavior-based segmentation to re-engage lapsed audiences. And lapsed audiences are just how it sounds, people that kind of haven't engaged in a while. And they tailored messaging to them more thoughtfully. And the results were that their list grew by 500%, which is crazy. So not by sending more emails, but by sending smarter emails. So yeah, I mean, that's a big number there. It's a big jump. So marketers who sent fewer, more targeted messages saw better results. Not only did engagement go up, but inbox placement improved too. Sending to engaged segments signaled to inbox providers that these were high quality senders. High quality emails, which helped boost deliverability overall. So basically, if you're going to be sending emails to people and they're responding and they like, they're opening them, they're engaging with them, all because you are segmenting and personalizing well, then that's going to improve your sender score. That's going to show senders that you are valuable, that you have high quality emails that you're sending out. And if you want improved deliverability, because that just means you're going to keep getting to the inbox. Okay, so don't need to send more emails in 2026. You need to send the right emails to the right people. That's the big kind of takeaway here. And the best news is that approach actually takes less time, and it drives more results. And I know we could all use a little less time focused on, each individual initiative that we're putting out there because we're busy people. So let's kind of chat about the changes in our audience's reading behaviors, because that definitely is important to consider. We've mentioned, skim first reading. So most subscribers aren't reading emails the way we imagine them reading. And it's kind of funny because think about how you engage with emails. I mean, if you're somebody who is like focused on each email you receive, that's awesome. I am not that person. I kind of don't think a lot of us are. I think we, skim the email, see if there's anything we want to engage with. If not, we move on. So that's how people are reading emails, and we need to start designing our emails to cater to that habit. And then also, we found that almost all engagement is happening in the top third of the email. Because think about it, it's the first thing they're going to see, that top half. So that just means your opener and your headline really need to kind of deliver the value right away so that they know, okay, I know what I'm getting from this. And then something else to consider is that carousel style layouts are just too busy. So while they're visually interesting, they kind of just ask too much of the reader. Too many options, too many visuals, too many direction for the eye to go to. So in the era of shrinking attention spans, don't do it. It's too much. So the type of emails that won this past year: simple layouts, clear hierarchy, one message per section, obvious next steps. Okay, let's think about device trends now, which I feel like, this has been happening for a while, but mobile reading is steadily at about 50%. So they're actually, across most audiences, mobile stayed the same. So it stayed steady at about 50%, but that means, half of your readers are still opening emails on their phones. So again, that just tells us we need to cater to that habit. We need to make sure that our emails are mobile friendly as well, because, as we all know, emails don't render the same on desktop as they do on mobile. So it's important that however you're putting your email together, it is mobilely optimized as well. And there's ways to check that. There's ways to ensure that that is already done for you, such as using a tool like Benchmark Email. But what really stood out is the rise of desktop opens, especially for B2B audiences. We saw more professionals reading emails at their desks during work hours on larger screens. So this kind of shift it implies that business focused content, so like updates, product announcements, industry insights, is increasingly being consumed in a more focused work-oriented place. So what does that mean for marketers? It means we need to design with dual experience in mind. So, like I mentioned, just making sure your emails render well on mobile, but also look really well on desktop as well. So, don't favor one view over another, because you'll alienate one audience. And right now it's about 50-50 at who's looking at each based on, the device. So keep that in mind. And then, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, there's impacts of privacy and deliverability changes. So over mailing penalties increase. This means, if you are sending too much, you will get penalized. Inbox providers are becoming much more sensitive to senders who were emailing their list too frequently. So or without enough relevance. So there's going to be more aggressive filtering happening, and especially if subscribers weren't engaging, or worse, if they were deleting emails. Like that's how this filter will pick up on it. So again, we don't want to email more. Like statistically, the more you email, maybe the more results you get. That's not what's going to work here, though, because if you email too much and it's not relevant, or people think they're getting too many emails from you, and so they're going to delete them or not open them, that's gonna harm you. We also saw that 43% of users delete emails without reading them due to spam concerns. So if a reader thinks your email looks like spam, they're going to immediately delete it, or they might even mark it as spam. So these two impacts tell us two things. Trust is now a core deliverability signal. So if an email looks like spam, feels like spam, or shows up too often, users take action and inbox providers take notice. And relevance matters more than volume. So sending fewer, more targeted emails is no longer a nice to have. You have to be doing it. So, marketers who are practicing healthy lists practices, sending to engaged segments, and maintaining a respectful cadence, they're going to see a significantly better deliverability. So just sort of keep that in mind as we move into this next year. And it's really because we want our audience to trust us. We want our audience to have some control here. The consumer has a lot of power now. And it's all about them feeling protected and trusted, and like the brand has their back and is doing the right thing when it comes to marketing to them. So really, again, this is all stuff that's to work in your favor. It's just, you got to make sure you're practicing it to see the full benefits. Okay, so what to leave behind. Let's discuss these tactics that underperformed or just became outdated. Long promotional emails, no thank you. Multi-CTA layouts, no thank you. Overly clever or vague subject lines, just tell me what you want to tell me. We don't need to be clever. We need to just be direct. Spray and pay sends to entire lists. No. Don't just send the same message to your entire list. These people are individuals, and you have to keep that in mind. Sure, some of them may have the same needs, but that's why you want to segment it based on that criteria, so that you can, at least show them you're trying to give them what they specifically need. PDFs attached to emails. Okay, I hope I don't even have to say that, but don't do that. Sending email attachments, unless it's like a one-on-one email with a personal correspondent or a professional correspondent, that's fine. But don't do it in your campaigns. That's some spam filters, they hate them. They're going to see that as spam, so don't do it. So here are some examples of what to avoid. Sending without segmenting, which I just mentioned. Overusing exclamation points or urgency. So I feel like my generation gets a lot of flack for this because I'm a millennial and we like to put exclamation points everywhere. And while I have been guilty of that, do not overuse that kind of stuff in your emails. Again, it's just kind of a little unprofessional. And if you are a little too aggressive in your urgency, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Heavy images with no value. No, don't include, it's spammy. Do not include images unless they help, unless they lend themselves to your email. So if you're selling a product, yeah, include an image of that product. Or if you're showing something and you're referencing something in the email and you want to show it, use an image, but don't use just like a stock image of people talking just for the heck of it. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that your images have a purpose. And you want to make sure you aren't using any designs that aren't catered to dark mode. A lot of people use dark mode. I use dark mode. It's easier on the eyes. People just like it. So make sure that the designs you're using kind of keep dark mode in mind. Okay. So let's talk about what we maybe want to try this coming year. These are things that maybe you are a little afraid to try, you haven't considered trying yet, or you just kind of don't know where to even begin. You don't have to overhaul your entire email strategy. These are just sort of like some fresh tactics to work into your current process. So AI assisted content. So you can use this for your subject lines, for your email body copy drafts, even for creative variations. I love using ChatGPT. You have to be very specific with your prompts. We will say that. If you want, the better you are with your prompt, the better output you're going to get. So it's truly a time saver. Like it really, really can help you. I know a lot of people are a little like worried about AI or a little afraid of it, but it can definitely help you, especially if you don't feel like writing is your strong suit. And it can kind of help you keep moving along in your project when you get sort of held up by writer's block. And then there's zero-party data prompts inside your email. So like that's basically getting feedback from people. Think about it. You have their email address. That is zero-party data. That is yours. That is your data that you have. You don't have to rely on another source for data. So, maybe you want to get to know more about the people you're emailing. Ask them questions. It can be something simple like tell us what you want to hear about or what content would you like more of. That can kind of help reshape your email content strategy or, just ensure that you are really giving people what they want. And then, there's lightweight hyper personalization. So what this means is like when people hear the word personalization, they often think it's got to be like a heavy hitting thing, and it really doesn't. So it doesn't have to be complex. The tactics that actually moved the needle this past year are going to continue to do so next year. And they were much simpler. So it's just like using simple segments, grouping people by interest or behavior, tailoring messages lightly, not dramatically. So even just like using their name in the subject line, that's a very lightweight but hyper personalization tactic. And then there's consistency over volume, which I've mentioned. Just being consistent with when you send and how often you send over sending a lot. That will create a predictable cadence with your audience. And then that's going to help build that trust. They're going to say, oh, I should be, they'll be like, I should be expecting an email from this brand today. I mean, if that's how consistent you are, and then they'll start looking forward to it and that can increase engagement as well. So that's what we recommend trying. And then these are some experiment ideas for Q1. So I wanted to kind of like get a little bit more specific. So something to experiment with is A/B test subject lines with 3 to 4 words versus 6 to 8. So you can send an email to one segment that only has 3 to 4 words in the subject line, and then choose another segment, and it could be the same email, just different subject line. And one has a 6 to 8 word subject line, and then just see check the open rate, see which one had a higher open rate. So that's just a very simple experiment. And then another one is try a one topic newsletter format. Personally, our newsletters typically have like a lot of information in it. We share like what's going on, any new like developments or new product rollouts, content, things like that. Instead, maybe stick to one topic. So like, if we were to do that, it would look like deliverability. Like, what are some tips about deliverability? And the whole email would be dedicated to that topic. If you're in retail, maybe you want to focus on like winter coats this year. Like that just kind of gives you an idea of what I mean there. And then you can also try adding a what do you prefer quick reply button in a January email. We do this sometimes when we want people to tell us like, are you enjoying this content? Yes or no. So they can click a button, and that's just a very easy way to see like simple preferences. And again, your email marketing software should help you do this. But it's doing that like zero party data prompt that I previously talked about. You're getting a response from the people you're emailing, and you're learning a little bit more about them. And then you can also test segmented promos based on tags. So obviously you can tag your contact list based on their preferences, based on where they are in the buyer's journey, or, based on stuff that they've downloaded or purchased before in the past. So say you have a list, you can aggregate a list of people who made the same purchase. So then you might want to test segmenting a promo to them that you think might be relevant to them, and just see how that works. Okay. So some quick wins for Q1 planning. Q1 sets the tone for the year, and it's going to be here before we know it. I'm personally not ready, but we have to be. That's just the name of the game. These quick wins will help you build momentum without adding any more work. So run a January list scrub. Excuse me. This means removing cold contacts to improve deliverability. So look through your list and see when people last engaged. If you're noticing, if you want to, let's say you want to remove people that haven't engaged in the past 3 months, that's what we recommend doing then. Just scrub that list. Don't remove them or delete them. Put them into a separate segment and mark them as, lapsed or unengaged. And then, you can run a separate re-engagement campaign for them, but just don't include them in maybe your Q1 sending, because if they're unengaged, and you're sending to them still, that's not gonna help you. Send a new year email. Same you, just easier. Update email, light, friendly tone with 1 CTA. So I don't think that this copy got completed. Sorry about that. So yeah, you could just like new year, new me. Yeah, that's what I think we meant to put here. So you can send an email that's like, hey, this is what we're, doing this year. This is what we're doing in Q1. This is what we're offering in Q1. It's the same us, but just a new thing that we're doing with 1 CTA. Sorry, I think I'm explaining that wrong. Yes. Okay. I got it now, guys. So basically this new year, new me idea is that you're changing the way that you're formatting your email. Instead of sending a busy email or one that's, thorough and very involved and descriptive, you are going to just send a light and easy email with 1 CTA. Okay. That's what we mean. Yay, we got there. So sorry. So sorry if I was confusing everyone. And then the next one is refresh your email template. So you may be using the same email template over and over and over again. Let's not do that. Let's refresh it. Let's try something new. Let's try something that's clean, that has white space. One CTA, simplified header. Maybe you want to do one column instead of two. That's what you were doing before. Let's refresh your email template to something simpler. And then when it comes to your lists, let's add basic tagging. So for example, you can tag your engaged recipients, your unengaged recipients, or your recent purchasers. Maybe those are just the 3 basic tagging system. That's the basic tagging system that you want to use in Q1. But whatever it is, do something related to tagging that's basic so that you can start sort of keeping better tabs on your list. And then the last one is try AI-powered subject lines for your first February campaign, quick, low-risk optimization. We actually have a tool in Benchmark that helps you harness AI to put together your email subject lines. So we make that very easy for you. If you're not using Benchmark, you can also try ChatGPT or any other AI-powered platforms. But, let's do it. If you've been too afraid to do it, or you keep meaning to do it and you haven't yet, let's pull the trigger and let's start using AI, because it really will help you. And it really will sort of, if you're not a writer, it will make you feel like a writer. And, again, just be specific with your prompts and you'll get some amazing results. And they usually offer you more than one anyway, so you can kind of pick and choose what to use. Okay, so this is the checklist I mentioned. This is going to be something for you to use next year. And when I send out the slide deck, you can print this out. You can, have it on your desk. You can laminate it and check it off as often as you want. But, this is sort of your holy grail. So for strategy, there's 3 checkpoints here. Know your key segments. So that kind of pulls in the last slide, one of our quick wins, which is, okay, you're going to have those 3 segments: engaged, unengaged, recent purchasers. But whatever segments you want, know them and have them on hand. Set a consistent cadence. So maybe you want to start emailing once a week on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. That's that's what we mean by setting a consistent cadence. Or maybe you want to email once a month. That's fine too. Just whatever it is, make it consistent. Don't have it be something that you're like, oh, I forgot to send a newsletter, and then rush it out the door and have no idea when you last sent the last one. You want to be consistent. And then define your success metrics early. So is that improving your open rate? Is that decreasing your unsubscribes? Is that increasing your click-through rate or increasing purchases? Whatever your success metrics are, lay those out early so that you can check against those once from the minute you start your campaigns this coming year. And then when it comes to tools, so ensure whatever builder you're using supports quick edits. Most do, but for example, Benchmark Email, you can easily edit any template that we have. You can start an email from scratch and edit within our email editor. Whatever you're using, just make sure that it supports that, a way for you to quickly edit, because, time is money. Use AI features to save time. I just spoke about that. I don't feel like I kind of need to shove that down your throats, but I really do want to recommend. And we have resources on our blog too, guys, that talk about how to use AI to your benefit, how to incorporate AI into your email marketing and marketing process. So just search our blog and you will find all of these resources. And then authenticate your sending domain. That is a technical one. And the good news is if you're using Benchmark Email, we already do this for you. So that's just another incentive to be using our tool if you aren't already. Okay, and now when it comes to metrics, you want to track opens, clicks, device trends. Again, this kind of ties into that define success metrics early, but we just want to kind of make sure you are keeping an eye on your metrics, because that's going to tell you what's working. Watch your list growth versus churn. So see how quickly your list is growing. Also, keep an eye on how many people are unsubscribing as well. And if you're getting more unsubscribes, if that's increasing, that hopefully should at least be an indication that something's not going right, and you can kind of dig in deeper to see what that is. And then monitor deliverability monthly. So you want to make sure there's no issues in your emails making it to the inbox. So again, if you're seeing your spam rate increase, that's a red flag. So just make sure you monitor that. And then content calendar prompts. These are some prompts to use when putting together your emails. Monthly promo. Is there something this month you want to promote? Newsletter. That's simple and easy, but we send out one once a month, and it kind of recaps the month, says anything that's new on the horizon. It promotes our content. If we have a webinar, we mention our webinar. It's just good to have those to kind of keep people in the loop. Seasonal tie-ins. So if you have any sort of holiday promotions or anything special happening regarding a season, that's something to consider for your email campaigns as well. And then there's educational sends. So that's basically just providing education on your business or your products, but making sure your recipients are educated, because a educated consumer is a happy consumer. That the most successful businesses with their customers are ones that have educated customers. And then there's customer story or testimonial email. So if you want to share a little bit about your business, that's a good idea. People love that. It humanizes your brand. If you want to share a testimonial, so you have someone that has used your product or service and absolutely loved it and had something wonderful to say, let other people know about that. That's that third party word of mouth, recommendation that is so, so, so valuable. Okay. Oh, we do have a question. Let's see here. How do you know how many emails is too much? Yeah, that's a really good question. And honestly, it can be hard to know that. But I have been in the position as a consumer where I've received like multiple emails from a brand a day. In my opinion, that's too much. I don't need to be hearing from a brand multiple times a day. You have to kind of test things out until you can kind of figure out what sort of cadence works for you. Maybe you want to start out once a week with an email and test that out for maybe a month or two. And if you want to maybe switch it up after that, compare email results to your new cadence and see which one is getting more positive responses. So when you were sending emails once a week, you were seeing more open rates than you were when you were sending once a month, because maybe people were forgetting about you and then they got your email and they're like, oh, I don't want to open that. Go back to once a week. That's kind of the best way to figure out what works, is to test a few options, but to make sure when you're testing, you're testing for at least long enough to where it's not going to like confuse people. So I would test at least for like 2 months or so, maybe even 3, before you switch it up and try a new route. Or you might be doing it for 3 months and say, this is working fine for us. I don't need to actually test any other way. And that's fine too. But truly, it's different for everybody. So I would just sort of test out a few things and make sure you're tapping into metrics to see what's working and what's getting the kind of response you need. What does CTA mean? CTA means call to action. So a call to action is what you want people to do when they receive your email. So that's basic. When I sent out this webinar promotion email to everyone, my CTA was save your spot. We wanted people to be able to sign up for this webinar if they wanted to join us. So that was the CTA. And often they will look like buttons. Or there'll be links, but buttons are always kind of nicer because they stand out a little bit more. But that is the singular action that you want people to take when they receive your email. So they are arguably the most important part of your email. And even though you didn't technically know what CTA meant, I know you've probably sent emails where you've had a CTA in there. You just didn't know they went by the term CTA. So that's what CTAs are. And I just want to let everyone know, I think that's it for the live questions. But if you have any other questions that maybe pop up later that you didn't have a chance to ask me during this broadcast, we're always here to help. You can always email our support team at support@benchmarkemail.com. Again, like I said, I will be emailing everybody with the recording and the slides after. So if you do have questions, please just respond to my email. I'm happy to, answer your questions directly. And then we also have our blog is chock full of wonderful resources that, talk about email marketing tactics, even our platform and how to use it. So we're always here to help, and we, have real humans. We're not robots. So we're here when you need us. And if you are not Benchmark email users and you want to be, we have a sign up free option as well. So that means you can sign up totally free to use our tool, no credit card required, and you could send an email in as quick as like 15 minutes. So I will include a option to sign up free in my response email. So I just want to thank you all so much for being on this webinar. I feel like I've been talking for 2 hours. So thank you for listening to me. And I hope you learned some great tips. I hope you feel ready to tackle 2026. It's going to be a great year. But just, remember, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. We just need to be cognizant of the changes that are happening and make sure we're prepared for them. So again, we're here to help you if you need anything, but be on the lookout for my email. I will be sending that in the next day or two. So thank you so much. And everybody have a wonderful day. I will talk to you next time.